kill you.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Zaku Talk. I am your host, Pastor Skeyhill. This season, G versus Wing, and that means my co-host is the aspiring werewolf.
Scary.
Pretty wolfy.
Well, you gotta get that aspiring there, so
Yeah.
you gotta fuck it up. You gotta look like a noob.
And of course, on the audio boards is Lev Van Rensselaer, reminding you to email us at zakutalkcast@gmail.com with any questions, comments, queries, or job offers for Bob Scary over here.
Oh, that's sweet of you, you liar.
This week we're going to be doing episode 43 of both G Gundam and Gundam Wing, but before we get into that, Bob, how's your week been going?
Week has been going pretty well. I have succumbed to the Siren's Call of cardboard for the latest Magic the Gathering set.
Yeah.
Strixhaven actually has some really great cards, and it's a great limited environment. I actually had to question for a minute whether or not Garfield came back to do this set. Not the orange cat that likes lasagna.
Yes.
Dr. I think it's James Garfield.
The president?
No, the gentleman who made.
I mean, I think his name is Richard Garfield. I think James Garfield. James A. Garfield.
Okay. I always forget his first
president
name.
Of the
now I'm
United
gonna have to
States.
remember Dick Garfield.
Bill Murray.
Oh, don't do that. Listen, if we're gonna talk about the voices, don't give it to that guy. Give it to music there.
Yeah, you know.
Lorenzo Music.
I know what you're saying, Bob. I read once that Bill Murray had taken the role of Garfield for that movie because he thought he had confused which director was doing it, so he thought it was like a really good director. And then the person interviewing him said, okay, that kind of makes sense, but then why did you do the second one? And then he just said, yeah, the money.
So he mistook who was going to be doing it?
Yeah, I forget who the director of Garfield is, but their last name was similar to like another kind of Coppola-esque type director. So he's like, all right, let's see where this is going. And then obviously it was not that guy.
Yeah, and how do you say no to a sequel? Because people get pissy when you don't reprise your role.
Yeah, you can charge more money too because of it. So if he's like, I go in a voice booth for 2 days, fine.
Just a side tangent before we get into the rest of this here, because you had to go on this side tangent with Garfield anyway.
Yeah, you did it. You did it.
I asked you a name that you should know because
you could
you've
have
been
just
playing it
known
basically since
who
the game
your presidents
began.
were. The end.
Anyway, the side tangent that does not go on the recording is just that this is a similar thing that happened with Robin Williams. Robin Williams got roped in and is basically the whole reason why we have celebrity voices for major films, because Disney was able to get Robin Williams for that role. And then everybody after that started seeing that Disney kept doing that because it was box office gold. And Williams hated it. So he backed out. That's why we got Dan Castellaneta, the guy who does Homer Simpson, being the voice for the second direct-to-VHS movie and the series. But then Williams came back for the third movie.
Yeah.
So that's a weird stagger.
I always thought that was odd, but was not surprised that Gilbert Gottfried was in all of them.
Well, I mean, yeah, his shtick kind of dried up as we got into the 90s.
Yeah, Gilbert Gottfried needs work, so it makes sense he does all the movies. And Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's always what I think of too. But yeah, so besides that, I am waiting on 3 of the Commander decks. Got one more.
3? Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, I spaced it out. It's not like I did it all in one fell swoop. But as voice acting is concerned, I was actually about to record, but got caught up in some house chores. So after this, and a good exercise thing, we're getting done with being stuck in the house. Stop being so lazy. Listen to this while you're running on any of the podcast servers you go to.
Yeah, you've only had a year to take care of all of your house projects. Get on that, I guess.
I'm talking about the dailies, you jerk. Go on.
I'm not talking to you specifically, Bob. I'm talking to the audience in general. You know.
Oh yeah, they're the jerks.
I feel like once the pandemic and the quarantine's over, people are gonna have like parent quarantine remorse. They're like, I had all this time and I didn't use it to do anything.
Yeah.
That's my big
Depression's
fear.
a son of a bitch, man.
I know. As for me, I just got off another bad film set. Much shorter, though, just a couple days. Now I'm prepping for my pilot this weekend, which at the time of recording is 2 days from now. I'm supposed to go in January, but COVID shut us down, so it's mostly been nothing for a couple months, so it's weird having to emotionally engage with something that we didn't have to do anything else with for a long time. But it'll be good to have it out of the way, one less distraction as I go into my wacky animation film in June. But that's sort of the big news for me over here. All right then, Bob. I think we better dive on in to episode 43 of G Gundam Plot Recap.
G Gundam, episode 43. Royal Counterattack. Ambush of the Grand Gundam. Or, in Japanese, Shishio Soha. Kurando Gundam Geigeki Sakusen. Lion King Conquest. Grand Gundam Interception Operation. But I can explain why it uses Lion King, not
Simba.
The Lion King, not a Disney property.
Which was originally a Japanese property.
Shishi in Japanese, and probably in Chinese too, but you can correct me, is the word for lion. So when you add an O at the end of that, O translates as a suffix to denote a king.
Lion-O.
Lion-O is literally Lion King. I'm glad to have taught you a thing.
Okay,
but the recap, the more important part of this. After Chibity and George have defeated the Grand Gundam, Allenby appears and seems to be under the influence of the DG cells, and Domon tries to reason with her. Then the Rising Gundam, piloted by Rain, attacks the Noble Gundam.
Oh no.
It's the shortest and skips over a bunch of the other stuff that happened before the last 5 minutes.
None of it mattered, apparently.
God damn you, Skeyhill. Why don't you tell me about Gundam Wing then, huh? If something needs to matter here.
Yeah, over here we have Target: Earth, and the Japanese Chijo o Utsu Aurora. I don't know what any of those could mean.
Chijo o Utsu Aurora. So the thing in the parentheses here is literally just Aurora.
Okay.
Like, a light that emanates around the Earth from space.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. Shijo o Utsu. And there does seem to be a portion that did not get translated on my end here, but it effectively translates to giant light shooting on the ground. So it's literally laser beam hits Earth, if you want to, try to infer some pieces here.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe the attack that happens from Battleship Libra is the Aurora beam. Pokemon.
Feels like a good guess. I'm glad they cleaned that up in the English, though I've also changed this title to avoid spoilers, but okay.
Well, you say that, but I totally forgot about the title until we got to that moment.
Yeah, that's the one bonus I give it, is that it's kind of easy to forget because it's sort of generic and happens 15 minutes into the episode. But I might be careful anyway. Well, anyway, the 5 Gundam pilots are reunited on board the Peace Million. A rogue unit from Oz holds the colony C421 hostage, and so Troa, seeing that Catherine is among the hostages, borrows the Wing Zero to try to liberate the colony, but the Zero system takes hold and almost has him destroy the colony, but Catra is able to stop him and somehow helps Troa recover his memories. Meanwhile, Relina attempts to reason with Zex after her shuttle approaches Libra, but he instead fires upon the Earth as a declaration of war against Treize. All right, that's what we've got going on here. So, in the middle of this battle royale in G Gundam, I guess the first thing that stood out to me is that Schwartz Bruder comes there, and he's like, hey, everybody, don't go in there, because there's a bunch of barriers for some reason, so you'll get hurt or you'll die. And they're like, fuck you, Schwartz, we're gonna do it. And he's like, wait, hey, guy, whoa, hey, you're just gonna die. And then eventually they're like, hey, you know what? He's probably right.
That's weird in however they translate it in the English, because in the Japanese, that whole scene is, hey, watch this.
Yeah.
Explosion. Mm-hmm. Don't do that. You will die.
Yeah.
And then it's specifically Princess Maria Louise that loses her shit because she's a child.
Yeah.
A child in love with a man. And once Schwartz, points out that, no, I feel the worst because I could do something and I can't.
Yeah.
Then she shuts her mouth and everybody's like, oh, then what? Do we just watch from the sidelines?
Yeah.
And then suddenly Deus Ex Machina, i.e. Rising Gundam, appears. And then we use not magnets. They don't describe it as such, but I would call this magnet because we have clearly red, clearly blue, north-south pole. Let's make a hole. We can barely get a hole big enough for the pain baby to go through.
Yeah, I don't mind the Rising Gundam showing up at a convenient time. That's been set up fine for me. But you're right. There is a Deus Ex Machina in whatever science is used to, one, tell me that there's a barrier here, I didn't know about it. And then two, now instantly we have some form of a solution to this.
They have told us before about the barrier. They didn't tell us about the second barrier around the main ring.
Yeah, that's the barrier I'm talking about.
Okay.
This deadly barrier. Yeah.
We're lucky enough that the second barrier is bound to the first one.
Yes, very
so
convenient.
Being able to break the basic lines in there makes it easier for everybody. But it also makes sense because if somebody wants to chicken out in the middle of this death match, that's bad show as far as Wanya and Fat would feel about it. So no, let's trap everyone in here, make sure all the goodies that could beat me are dead or succumb to me, and I win.
Yeah, I got no problem with there being a second barrier. And, because it's G Gundam, I have no problem with the fact that they solve it by throwing out a bunch of pseudoscience terms at me that don't make any sense, but I say, G Gundam, it's okay.
Gundanium.
Yeah, it's okay. They're pushing against something, I guess, and that, for some reason, does something, and then she can crawl through. That's fine.
Well, so I do want to point this out.
Yeah.
The way that it looks is they both just have their hands out and seem to be emanating a certain amount of energy from themselves, and not like the fighters. The actual suits are doing this. Again, I think the reason that we have this specific coloring showing on Shirley's screen is to try to denote that we're not going to say what this is, but it's probably magnets. Because they're fucking miracles.
They just don't want to say it because they don't have to deal with all that. They're just like, we need a thing to stop them, and then they can teamwork, and then it's
well,
done.
Yeah, because then you have to start going with, well, why does magnets work on this barrier? Is that electromagnetic? Yes. It just
you don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Not in
there's no need.
Not in the future century.
Magnets. Infer it's magnets. But yeah. So how do you feel about the rest of this?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what we got last time. I like this. I like Big Giant Gundam better than Bird Gundam.
Yeah.
We should get to do more. But I think this episode has not a problem, but there's a different dynamic you have to go about it with Chapman because he's kind of like Frankenstein talking. Where Roman guy just got to be like, aha, I'm crazy. I'm going to kill you all. Mm. This guy's just like, Chapman smash.
Now that you say that, it makes me wonder.
Yeah.
Did they model the post-DG cell versions of these two after the popular slasher motif of the 80s horror genre? Because we're barely into the 90s, and we do still have some of the remnants of those films coming through. Mm-hmm. If you want to think of the ultimate offense, speed and direct attacking versus the ultimate defense, big, thick body and Shoosty McGee, you could make the argument of equating them to Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees, respectively. You have one that does not really talk and is just able to take a beating and just throw his body weight around. The other one is just dashing all around and trying to use really ostentatious levels of power against you that seems to be more overwhelming than anything. And the speed of that is terrifying. So I think you could put the argument here that they attack with that in mind, but it could also just be the two kinds of killer. You have your gang thug and then you have your contract killer. There are ways that you can manage it.
Yeah, I'm going to do the rare thing and give them some credit here and say they're kind of highlighting the way these two different, like Roman guy probably wanted these DG cells in him to beat up on Domo and get revenge, right? So he's already sort of maniacal in that mindset, where Chapman was dead and was like brought back and now is kind of like zombified. So there is some attention to detail in how these people were brought into the Dark Heavenly King thing. So a neat little note there. What I think might have been, because doesn't George have like 2 run-ins with Chapman already before this?
So this one does make more sense, and I was thinking about that too.
Yeah.
We know that the initial meeting with Chapman involved this.
Yeah.
And I believe he was also the one to fight him when we got to see our first instance of Grand Gundam in the ring. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is twice now that we've seen him have to deal with this.
So I just wish there was a little more, like, that history was kind of present and weighed in on George here, where he's just like, I don't know, like, they have this background. Didn't he used to, like, look up to Chapman too or something? Wasn't that in that first episode where they met?
He acknowledged him as a Knight of Honor and then had that shattered in the same episode.
Yeah, I mean, they could have gone into that more. Just felt kind of like it didn't happen beforehand, so it feel like, I don't know, we kind of lose out on the whole world of the story by not talking about that, even just for a little bit. But they wanted to focus on what they basically did with Saisashi and Argo last episode, which is these two guys coming to terms with each other and kind of going out with one last hurrah and letting us know what they were fighting for and you know, ready to kind of sacrifice that to defeat the Dark Gundam.
Hey, guess what?
What?
Sentai color theory time.
Okay, yeah, go on.
Well, I mean, no, even disregarding the basis of this, it applies. Your first time around with Argo and Saisashi, who I've referred to in the past as green and black, they are opposites of each other. One is speed versus power, right? These two opposites, and one of which I believe had interacted with the Gundam Heaven's sword at one point or another. I forget which one, though, if it was one or the other. Do you recall?
No.
Presuming one of them did. We have one person who has at least had a run-in with them, the two of them working together using their opposite abilities to come to a solution, which is apparently suicide. Second one, we have, again, these two are blue and yellow, respectively, here. One of them is more of the wild card, everything's going to be all right. The other one is more the straight edge type. And the two of them have to work together and find a solution, which seemingly leads to mutual destruction with the big bad. So we're hitting all our video game boss fight.
Yes, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So it fits. Everything here makes sense for beats so far. Yeah, it's tropey, but it works.
Yeah, not surprised at what we got here. Nothing felt off about what we got here. It's basically what I would expect. And then they do the thing where they say, Domo, go and go ahead, go fight the Dark Gundam without us. There you go. And then he does it. And he's about to fight Master Asia, but then, Allenby shows up because Wofat's like, fuck you, Master Asia. Allenby's the best. And but then Rain kind of comes and we'll help him out, I guess, next episode. But we spent a lot of time.
Next episode's girl fight, yeah.
Okay. It's Bride Wars. Okay. And then.
Not just that.
Yeah.
Little sneak, little hint.
Little peeky.
We're gonna finally get to see the Walter Gundam.
Okay. Well, we'll take a look at that next episode, I guess. So it's really a lot of. I thought we weren't going to get much of America and French guy fighting Big Gundam, but then the second half sort of really focuses on that. They do okay. They're fighting it. Then it looks like they're going to be defeated, and like I'm not quite sure why this worked the way it did. Maxter has to shoot a rose bit into the cockpit of the Gundam, but if French guy was able to control the rose bit anyway, couldn't he just send himself the rose bit into the cockpit?
I think it's a matter of adding more velocity from a point blank range to make sure that it doesn't just like dink off the armor. Also, consider the fact that, he sort of controls the rose bits, but it's a little more wild instead of a straight and narrow shot. His is the elegant flowing of a petal in the wind versus the direct strike of the guy with a gun.
Okay. Well, they obviously wanted to hammer home this teamwork thing, and we got it. And then Grand Gundam was defeated. And then the episode was over.
For the most part, I do want to touch base. Did you see how they gave us a much closer look, Schwartzbruder's side?
Yeah, now that it has been healed, now I do see what you were talking about.
Yeah, the DG cells. Were there any other extraneous bits involving the crew team or anything else that you wanted to touch base on?
Yeah, the crew team gets the sad shaft of like a lot of their lines they all speak at the same time.
Yeah.
So because they're a collective
They only did it
group
once
now.
on my side. I don't know about your side.
It might have only been once or twice, but it's certainly like, oh, this is what you guys have been relegated to? So sad. And then the princess lady, she got to be her own thing because she had to be pissed off for a while and then go under herself and then blow it up.
Hey, I mean, it made her have to see the kinds of things that everybody else has gone through, and she's just been able to be like, I'm going to sit on the side.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch this all happen.
Yeah, she finally has to put some work
that
in.
red-haired guy is hot.
Yeah. I like that, they let Domon leave, and as Frenchie is waiting for Grand Gundam to attack, he's like, I hope Domon was able to find the Dark Gundam. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, he's the big giant fucking mobile suit on the cliff. I think he'll be able to find him just fine. But the Dark Gundam's just there, kind of like chilling. He's just hanging out.
Yeah, presiding over the whole thing. And we got to also suspend our disbelief on the timeline here, because really these fights are happening a lot faster than even what we're getting in a half hour's time. These things should be onslaughts. And in reality, they're probably taking 5 minutes a pop.
Yeah, I bet for the actual fighting, but there's a lot of downtime that French and American guy have as they like toast their Gundams and they like have a heart-to-heart. And I'm just like, is Grand Gundam this bad at finding things? They're kind of going at it. But outside of that, I would agree with you there. That's common in a lot of these shonen-style shows.
Well, especially in this like big final purge moment of what's supposed to be happening here. I will give to you something that was mentioned an episode or two back. It is kind of weak, especially when they do it in the opening about how Ulube and Mikamura sensei, the two of them are just, hey, we're assholes.
Yeah, the
narrative
narrative is like,
that you weren't going to find that out.
The narrative is like, hey, it looks like these guys are bad. And then nothing from them this episode. We don't have many left.
The only thing that is alluded to on my side, and I don't know if they do it on yours, is the fact that for whatever reason, Ulube left the Rising Gundam behind. Why would he do that?
She goes out of her way to say that, and I'm thinking, what am I supposed to take away from that? Is this just like an exposition dump for why that's here, and like the show overlooked it, or is there a plan? I don't know.
Based on what I know happens by the end of the series, I have a feeling as to why it's happened, but if it does follow through the way I think, it's going to be cheap.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that when we get there, I guess.
Yeah, well, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Wing.
Yes, Wing. What is standing out to you here?
Of the things to stand out, I appreciate that there are a lot of call-outs to people's perceptions of how other people are going to do things in the episode. And two specifically do come to mind. One is how we have Noin insisting, hoping in reality that Zex is not going to do anything to harm civilians. It has to be noted because if this were any other person, she would not hesitate. But because she feels so strongly for him in whatever way she does, there is hesitation. And that is the kind of thing that can cost an entire people a war. So it shows that while she is a capable fighter, it is not that she is necessarily a capable general or war leader of any kind. The second that comes to mind is Catherine. Catherine finally gets to be shown by way of boss man there of the circus that people always say they want to have peace. But when people come in to try and run them over, if no one stands up, if no one's willing to risk their life, then there is no peace. There is only subjugation and fear. Yeah,
the manager, who sadly never gets a real name, and in English, like 3 times she's like, manager, like that's what.
They call him manager?
Yeah, that's how he's the circus manager. So she's like manager, or like when everyone talks about him, they're like, oh, the manager. Never gets a real name. Very sad.
I mean, at least on my side, the subs say boss, manager. That seems so icky.
But you're right. He's got some wise words there to hammer home some themes of the show. And this is interesting about Noin, and you're kind of because Wu Fei's chided her on this twice about letting her emotions kind of get in the way and cloud her judgments. And it's interesting that as well as she knows Zex, she's kind of having a hard time accepting this, where Treize, who might know Zex as well, or maybe even a little less, in an earlier chapter in the manga, as Zex last episode would have said, this isn't really us reflecting our personalities, is it, Trace? And then Trace looks up at the sky and says, out there amidst the glittering of the far distant stars, have you been able to find an anchor for your soul, Zex? So Trace kind of gets a little bit of what's going on in Zex's mind, where Noin hasn't been able to find that yet. So that was an interesting thing that stood out to me as Noin has to kind of defend this man when everybody else is there. What I like there's a lot about the 5 Gundam pilots interacting that I think hurts the show. It won't happen for a couple episodes, but it kind of slows things down a bit. But what I like when they first meet is that everybody has like a different opinion on what's going on. And they're all kind of talking back and forth about it. I love it. So like Duo's mad at Oz. He's like, oh, Oz being Oz, taking advantage of a colony. And Catra's like, well, yes, but the White Fang put them in this position that they had. So like I like that kind of stuff in there because they're both right, they're both wrong. So it's kind of interesting to see that. Troar, finally, our last pilot to pilot the Wing Zero, does it. Has a very tough time with it for obvious reasons.
Well, yeah. So I did want to point that out, but I also wanted to ask, I must have already forgotten that Duo got a chance to pilot it.
Yep.
Because of the 5 of them, he doesn't get an opportunity to really have an arc with it.
No, he knew going in he didn't want to pilot it, but Trant makes him do it. And then he thinks he destroys his colony with Hildy on it. And so when he gets out of it, his arc is basically like, hey, some weapons are too strong. Don't toy with that fucking thing. And so when Troa wants to take it out, Duo's like, what the fuck, are you insane? Or when Hero's like, it'll be fine, I can handle it. And Duo's like, oh, I forgot, you were just a big fucking weirdo. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. But I want to space magic and hyper analytical AI were able to cure amnesia.
I know. Always upsets me too. That annoys me too. In the manga, this incident, I've talked about it a few times as I'm talking about other things that happen in the manga, because all of it kind of happens at the same time. This is much longer. This is when Troa rejoins the Gundams. Just Hero, and then they eventually make their way to Peace Million. So it's a lot more disheveled and everything going on. But in the manga, I don't think they have him get his memories back. Like, it's just not there. I don't know how Troa is saying, Catra, yes, we have people to protect. I don't know how that helps Catra realize he's gained his memories back. I don't know how I'm supposed to take that away other than these flashbacks we're seeing in his head.
I can infer based on 2 points.
Yeah.
One being realistic, the other one being fan service. The realistic one is Catra figures out that Troa got his memories back because rather than having the quizzical sound behind his voice, there is definitely a tonal change in how he is speaking to everyone. He's no longer the unsure and I'm trying to make sure I'm saying your name right tone to his voice. He shifts to his traditional stoic tone of, you're right.
Yeah.
We have to do this.
Yeah.
So that tonal shift is a cue for somebody and is shorthand for us to know that Catra knows.
Yeah, that transition's a little less obvious in the English.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, in the Japanese, it is very clearly a different different sound.
Sounds
the
good.
second thing is, this is where you can start inferring some boys' love. Because the way in which it's described to Catra that, you're right, we both have people we must protect. It might not be he and Catra, it might be the 2 versions of Troa that he's been.
Okay. Yeah.
So the idea that the Troa before amnesia was trying to protect Catra, in for your BL there. The Troa after amnesia applying to Catherine because he didn't have as much attunement to Catherine seemingly as he did after the amnesia.
Yep. I think that's all fair there, but we already talked about the difficulties with amnesia media when he first had it. We won't harp on that here.
Well, I think the term is just shorthand because what really should be had here, if we were to use the full term, is short-term memory loss. But that doesn't roll off the tongue and doesn't sound as sincere and dramatic as amnesia.
Gilligan's Island has really put that into the cultural mindset.
Oh, is that a Gilligan's thing?
Gilligan Island did amnesia like every 10 episodes. Gilligan got hit by something on the head, thought he was somebody else, and then at the end got hit again. Like nobody, and it's weird, nobody ever figured out like, oh, we always solve this problem by bonking him on the head. Let's just do that right now and get this over with.
Yeah, I call episodic bullshit on that, but also I feel like Flintstones did that a lot too, and I don't know if it happened concurrently.
Trey's once again yelling at people who don't seem to understand him, even though they think they do. Where they're like, hey, Trey's, we got this colony for you. We're going to beat the White Fang. And he's like, you fucking assholes. That's not how we do things.
I hate the guy in the truck.
Yeah.
The guy in the van is such a dick. Like, what? Taking hostages and overtaking an entire civilization is bad?
Yeah, so what's interesting there is the soldiers Trey seems to have been mad at, early Lady Un, some of these people, Roma Feller, is very similar to what the Wing Zero system is doing. And what Troa almost accomplished, where it seems to focus only on absolute victory. It didn't matter if it destroyed the colony, all the Wing Zero wanted Troa to do was to shoot that man and sort of wipe out this Oz unit entirely, because that was deemed to be the enemy. And anything else that it cost was fine. And this was what Lady Un was doing in Russia when she wanted to hold the colony hostage. It's what Roma Feller wanted to do for most of Dermail's rule. So it's interesting that this antithesis to Trey's is now embodied in the Wing Zero, but he also built an Epion that kind of wants it, but not quite. So that's an interesting thing to consider as we go forward into these final episodes.
Yeah, can we get some consistency on whether or not the Epion has the same system or a variation on it? That's something that keeps running across me the wrong way.
Yeah, so I think they, much like with this Amnesia, they shorthand it. It is a different system. That's why it has to be pilot. That's why it has to have the helmet. And things like that. It's based off of the Zero system, but it isn't quite the Zero system. That's the best I can give you.
Now, the other thing that comes to mind is remembering like 4 episodes back or more.
Yeah.
When Hero was tooling with the Wing Zero with his computer. Does something come up in the manga about that or whatever? Because to me, it seems like it's more than just diagnostics.
There is something that will happen next episode that makes me think it might have been a seed for something, but I might be giving the show too much credit, and it might have just been, we need him to do something alone in the woods for this segment where we look at him looking at the sky. So we'll have him do this.
You could have done that by having him fix the ankle of the thing, you know?
Yes, I don't know. I hope the show had thought it out. There is certainly nothing in the manga about it because he's already in the middle of a battle somewhere when that moment happens, because it's a lot more compressed. So the manga didn't have to worry about it. You know, if I'm being cynical, Pat, I say, just an odd directing choice. But there could be something next episode we could point to and be like, he was planning for this.
Okay, cool.
But to
that end, too, I will say there has been a lot of growth in Hero from being just a soldier to now definitely being more on the side of a military savant.
Yeah, and he...
able to see strategy and not just mission. Do you agree with that? No?
Yeah, and I think there's something very interesting in the fact that everybody's on the ship is like, oh my God, how do we stop Zex? And Hero's like, well, we can't. But there is one person who can. And then we cut to Relina's spaceship. Like ever since he was ready to assassinate her, he now has this like complete faith in what she's trying to build that Trey's was also expressing last episode. Which apparently was his reason for having to stand in for her during this moment. Yeah.
So here is another curiosity about the difference between your watching in English and mine in Japanese.
Yeah.
So with Dorothy.
Yeah.
How batshit does she look in English? Because in Japanese, she is elated to the point of almost sounding titillated by the idea of shooting a laser at the determined target, which they do keep mum until the very last couple of minutes of the episode.
Yeah. So they definitely want her to go in that direction with the English voice acting. They don't get too far. They don't get all the way there, but it's very easy to infer like that titillation quality. Yeah. Yeah,
because she does not seem as together with it as I thought she was going to be. She seems more disturbed than seemingly a part of the greater chess game that is occurring. At least in this episode. If you'd asked me the episode prior, I'd say, no, she's playing 4D chess with both Trey's and Zach's. And I don't see it in this episode. I see someone who's just like, Oh boy, death and war. Let's show people how cool we are.
Well, I would say, yeah, let's keep an eye. Like I said, since she first showed up, let's keep an eye on her. We're gonna see some things as we get to the end.
Do we get a focus episode on her at all between now and then?
So not quite a focus. The show doesn't even really do that much anyway. It's usually like the first half is this A story, the second half is this B story. You get something kind of like that. There's just not enough.
She always seems to be a talking head that is supposed to be a mirror to Relina, so that's why I had to ask.
Yeah, I wish the show had time for things like that. I think that would be very interesting. Sadly, they don't. And she's only there for the second half, so it's a little compressed with what we get with her. But I think that's what has helped her be kind of interesting to probe each time I come back.
Other than that, were there any other instances that you wanted to peek at here, like? Do you have anything about the Sally Poe Noin interaction or anything like that?
Sally Poe Noin, both very cool. Nothing too strong in here, though. They're just like, hey, old teammates again. In the manga, right, Noin helps Sally Poe escape from the prison that she's in the middle-ish of the show, and that's how they then can kind of go and find the Gundams they need for space. Hiro and Wu Fei kind of figure out halfway through the battle that like, oh no, they don't want the colony anyway. But they're both good at knowing that they can't, not to worry about things they have no control over. Like neither, Troa has taken the Wing Zero and Wu Fei's suit isn't good enough for battle. And everybody else is like, well, we gotta do something. And they're like, well, we can't. So it's in their hands. And so they're kind of got that kind of like Eastern meditative approach to things. And they're both like, oh, he's going to fire at the Earth. So we can't really do much about that. In the manga, he wants the target to be the Romefeller headquarters, but they don't fire on the Earth. We don't get to see that this early on. Sadichi, the man who originally overthrew Tubarov, he actually tries to stop Zex from doing this, and then Zex has him arrested. In the anime, he's already dead, killed in the attack on Barge, very unceremoniously. So they don't have to worry about there. But Cans is still trying to be like, hey, Zex, maybe we've gone too far. And Zex is like, hey, I thought you wanted me to be in charge. Well, I'm in charge. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, so I do like that moment is this Elderman Cans here is, he's all for trying to get Zex to lead. Zex is going to be the face that makes us legitimate.
Yeah.
What is it? We have to kill people in order to do this? We can't just be like white is right situation with our armbands? Like, no? Okay. Fuck.
Yeah, it's not that dissimilar to the Romerfellow thing where Dermail's like, we need a face to unify us and to give us good charisma to the people. Let me get Relina. And that goes badly very quickly. And then Kant is like, we need a face. And now Zex is like, we're going to destroy the Earth. And Kant is like, uh-oh.
Yeah, it's almost like you shouldn't ask a peacecraft to lead because they're natural-born leaders or something.
It goes horribly for everybody who picks them. I do like the reveal. The eventual reveal, we're like, hey, we're not firing on the colony, we're firing on the Earth. And then like, boom, it's things are destroyed and vaporized. A big nuclear bomb has gone off. And they're like, all right, Earth, your move next. That's not a bad way to end your episode there.
It's not. And it, like, the very last thing that Zex says is, well, you have to get that malfunction back in order. We're expecting company.
Yeah.
The Gundams.
Yes.
So we've already set up our stakes. Mm-hmm. The Gundams have to now assault the battleship Libra.
Yes.
We have determined that these 5 are the only ones that can actually do something. Mm-hmm. So we have a reason for the Gundams to have to be there anyway. This is a great setup to build towards a climax.
Yes. Unfortunately, like all big giant super weapons, it malfunctions after each use, so you can't just spam it over and over again. Very convenient.
Well, that's how you build any good game. If you have the ultimate attack, you have to either have a huge recharge or some debilitating effect.
Yes. Yep, very exciting. We got a couple good episodes coming up, and some not great ones. But then we get to go to the end, so it's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, well then
I am going to be curious as to what you think is a not so great episode for you.
Yeah, and you'll probably be fine with it, but I'm just like, we're stretched for time, and this is what you fill it with. It's like,
is it an episode that might be great for determining character, but is awful for actually getting the plot moving?
No, it's bad. It's like it's like killing time.
Hand-wavy?
It's like killing time. It's like, all right, now that these 5 are together, we gotta like show them off, and it's just like you just go and buy the numbers and you're like, what do we? The next episode is showing them off, but like is more useful. Like we gain something from it. But then after that's just like Avengers Assemble, and you're like,
yeah, I have still not watched the original Avengers film and anything that has happened after the first Thor movie.
Yeah,
so.
Like I don't know. In the UC timeline, you know, when we were going through it, Micah always wanted the 3 original main pilots to team up at some point, and I go, no, that would be so boring. Why do you want it? And it's just Avengers has poisoned everybody's mind.
This is even before Avengers. This is just traditional hero team up thing. Like even things like Willow did that, you know?
Okay, so let's do a quick way we go.
Like sand through the hourglass, this is the way that we go.
So where I went this week, I actually watching G Gundam in the shonen style, like, of course he's got to do this. It made me think of another shonen that I like Yu Yu Hakusho, but I haven't seen in a very long time. So I don't want to refer to that one too much. But one that I've watched much more recently that I enjoy a great deal is iShield 21. And this also does shonen stuff and ridiculous things. And yet for some reason, I like it more. And I've been trying to figure out why. This might be a 2-part one because I want to think about it over the week. Where I'm just like, is it because it doesn't really take itself that seriously? It is a comedic thing where this one's like, we got to save the world. Is it because like I get to like see how they're taking like actual football and then translating it into shonen terms, and that linguistic component is amusing to me? I don't know, because they're both shows about chasing a dream. But I feel it a lot more in iShield than here. And is that because there's a lot of other distractions with the G cells and mistaken identities and things like that? Like, I'm not too sure. So I don't need an answer right now, Bob, but I'm going to try to have a lot more specific thoughts on it for next week.
So because I was so dry for Way We Go this week, I am actually going to take this opportunity to infer something based on what you've just said.
Okay.
So for my Way We Go extension, we should look at the fact that one is doing this with sincerity, the other is doing it while having the tongue in the cheek firmly placed. Mm-hmm. There is also a thing to note here, because sports anime has only gotten more popular since iShield 21, and something like Haikyuu might be of interest to you.
Yeah, I've seen some of that. I actually... That's another thing I've been figuring out. Like, why don't I like this as much as iShield? Like, what is the difference here?
Well, first of all, America doesn't give a shit about volleyball unless they're in volleyball. Like if you're part of a niche sport, you love that niche sport. If it's not standardized, a lot of people can just throw it away. Mm-hmm. See something like fencing or I just lost it. The Canadian one where you have the brushes.
Curling.
Thank you.
Yeah. What would a curling anime be like? My goodness.
I would love a curling anime, honestly. That is rife. There we go, Skeyhill. That's
That'll be
sports anime. We're going to write a curling anime.
Okay.
I also feel like with regards to iShield 21, because I saw a few episodes when me and Mr. Jeremini were all hanging up, I feel like there is enough flavor to paint it in the way of a traditional shonen, but it is done in such a way that it's not so over the top as much as you can hand wave it to mean something else. We see that the lead character is really great at pushing through, and yet we can just take that as him pushing through and then adding flavor to it for the sake of our entertainment. Mm-hmm. If this were purely just American football, then it wouldn't be necessarily as interesting unless you add some sort of gimmick or twist to it. I think of Death Note. Death Note is another non-tournament anime or shonen style anime where you have this dueling of the minds, and sometimes they do these over the top things like painting the two lead characters in different colors and having them do like them looking over the chessboard that is the world, or standing atop two different skyscrapers and being able to stare each other down without knowing that the other one is necessarily who they are. All these things are, as you said, linguistic shorthand to still deliver the story that we want to have, but still be entertained in a way that we wouldn't if it were a non-animation.
Yeah, I think those are good jumping off points. I'm going to think on it over the week. I'm actually going to look back at some Yu Yu Hakusho because that also takes itself very seriously, but I was engaged with it. So I'm going to try to figure that out. Bob, let's go take a seat at the Nerd Corner.
Let's take a walk to the Nerd Corner, where we will talk about a lot of nerd stuff. Yeah.
So my Nerd Corner, someone sent me to this just yesterday. Very nice of them. There is, in fact, a Kickstarter happening right now that a toy company is doing to help them build the first ever licensed toy line for Prisoner action figures from the hit 1967 show The Prisoner. Big fan of that. My good friend of the show, Shinji, and I have already sort of jumped onto it. We're going to get our different versions of Patrick McGowan and a little rover case to hide him in sometimes when he gets eaten by the big white ball. For any fans of the show, all two of you out there, definitely give it a look. It has already met its funding, and now it's just bonus time with like 30 days left to go.
Do you know if any of those stretch goals are going to include figures of other recurring characters at all?
So far, I mean, there's currently one of the number twos, the third number two from the second episode, and the doppelganger, Patrick McGowan, are action figures involved. The only stretch goal having been released so far is, I don't know, one of those stand things, right? So that the action figure can like hang on a peg and
it stands
up.
Okay, I heard fan.
Oh, no. I don't know what the other ones are just yet.
I wouldn't be surprised because of the way that it's produced. You might get a silicone version of the white ball because, I mean, sorry for those listeners under the age of 18, but there's a thing called Tenga.
What is Tenga?
Tenga is a sex toy company, most well known for creating disposable use toys that are made of a very soft white silicone. I would say that something like that would make for a great version of the white ball from The Prisoner.
We'll see how that goes. Bob, what's your Nerd Corner this week?
My Nerd Corner this week is Pokemon. I just have to gush literally today while I was in the restroom playing Pokemon Sword. I was just flipping through lackadaisically, just swapping through some egg making things. And on a first try after dropping the water starter from the 7th generation in and getting the first egg from that, it just popped shiny. And it's always a nice surprise when you're not trying to get a shiny and it just pops in your face.
Okay.
That's all.
Well, I'm glad that happened to you today, Bob.
Great import this week, man. I already gushed about magic at the beginning of the episode, and I didn't want to be a one-note pony.
All right, that's okay. So 2 very nerdy things from Bob. We'll put links to all of these in the show notes, so check those out. I'd like to thank Lev Van Rensselaer for minding those audio boards, making us sound so slippery smooth. I'd like to thank my co-host this week, as he will be each and every week this season, Bob Skerry. Bob, you got any plugs?
Hey, hi, Worldwide Sentai. This is Bob Skerry VOA coming at you live from Zaku Talk HQ. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and a slew of other places by my handle, Bob Skerry VOA. You can also find me at bobskerryvoa.com to listen to my demos because I am, in fact, a voice-over artist.
And I am your host, Patrick Scaley. You can find my features, documentaries, short films, video essays, animations, behind-the-scenes footage, and so much more at QuixoticUnited.com and social media, presumably, with a similar sounding name. Thank you all for listening. Bob, tell the audience why the peanut is the natural enemy of the ozone.
Peanut is the natural enemy of the ozone because without jelly, the peanut will shoot through it and cause ozone holes. We are doomed unless you eat more peanut butter. Use it to replace the protein in yogurt.